Hi, welcome back to today. Now, trade unions with a majority at the Public Service Co-ordinating Bargaining Council are convening a mass picket tomorrow, and this follows the collapsed public service wage negotiations, as well as their subsequent declaration of a dispute. So let's discuss this even further. We're now joined by Simon Hlungwani. He is the Cosatu Union's convener. Mr. Hlungwani, thank you so much for your time and good afternoon to you. Firstly, who is participating in this picket planned for tomorrow and why?
Well, good afternoon to you and greetings to the viewers. Well, we are the JMC of Cosatu is participating in the unions that you have rejected the offer of the employer. So you could think of Nehau, Pokru, Dinosa, Samatu, Saipu, Pausa, and we are also together with other unions that are not within Cosatu, such as Ospesa, because we're together as a they have joined us in terms of the conciliation that is taking place tomorrow. And the reason why we are going into the picket is because the employer has withdrawn the offer, and after which we have heard them in public and in parliament talking about them going to pay the public servants the 3%, but they've never come back to us to talk to us directly. So hence the process of conciliation must still go on, because whatever they've made as utterances in the public, it does not translate into the conciliation process or dispute mechanism disappearing, because the law in terms of the constitution of the Labor Relations Act as well and the constitution of the public, the PSCBC, there is no way that such utterances then will make the conciliation disappear. That's why we continue with that. But it's equally because we are resolute in that the employer is undermining collective bargaining. So we're putting pressure on them. We're calling them to come to the council tomorrow and Tuesday, because the conciliation is set down for the 31st of October and the 1st of November. So they must come there, and we're giving them a caution. They must come with the 10% that we're demanding, because after they've withdrawn the offer, we have gone back to our 10% demand, which was an initial demand that we made in May.
Right. I want to talk about what you say you're fighting back, according to your statement. Fighting back, you say, the attitude and the neoliberal policies of the employer. Take me through, in your experience, Ms. Hlungwani, the attitude you've been received with by the employer, as well as these policies with which you describe.
Well, if you may recall, we started to see the signs when Minister Mboweni was there for this sixth administration led by President Ramaphosa, that they undermine collective bargaining. For example, Minister Mboweni goes to Parliament at some point and he says he's going to take 10% of to reduce the wage bill by 10%. He then continues to say he's going to take away our performance bonuses, all the hard and fought for gains that we have made, because there are resolutions which are now by effect of law, they are the legal statutory framework that guides those benefits to all the employees that are in the public service. Now, it started there when they made in public, and following from there, the Minister Mboweni then said there won't be an increase in the year 2020, let's say 2020, 2021, 23, until the year 2024. In terms of the financial cycles, it would be 23, 24. When we thought he's joking in 2020, then he says he's got no money to honor the last leg of Resolution 1 of 2018, which was agreed upon by the employer and all parties in council. And indeed, we know what happened thereafter. They took us to court and the Constitutional Court. Then we realized that indeed, if we do not fight, we only have these chains to lose. That's why we are fighting, that this should be a revolution where public servants should be respected, but also collective bargaining should be respected. As long as we have a resolution, we must continue. It must be honored. And if we do not have a resolution, we must have an attitude of saying, let's negotiate in good faith and not have a hard stance like the government's posture at the current moment.
Yeah, and just speaking of the government, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I understand you also very strongly do condemn the circular issued by the Department of Public Service and Administration, particularly on the improvement in conditions of service for employees on salary level 1 and 12. What is it about this circular that you condemn? And to you, what does it demonstrate?
Well, the only thing that the circular says is that they are going to pay the 3%. We condemn it because the circular comes outside of the collective bargaining process, which is at the PSCBC. So the employer should be coming to us in conciliation. In fact, let me mention that after the circulation of the draft resolution where they had proposed the 3%, that we took to the members to consult. It says, according to the Constitution, after 21 days, the employer has got two options. The first option was that they can fall away the draft agreement, or the second option could be to reopen negotiations such that we can be able to find one another. The employer chose the easy way out, which was falling away of the resolution. But it surprises us that then the same employer goes to public and say they want to implement the same resolution which they chose for it to fall away, and they go to parliament as well and confirm availability, which I don't think it's a problem if the minister reinforces that 3%. We're just saying the Minister of Finance must add more to it to give us what we want. Yep. However, we condemn the fact that they're not coming back to us at the level of the council where we are supposed to talk about these issues. That's where we have an issue with them in this regard. And therefore, the circular cements the same sentiments, the same propaganda, but we're inviting them to come to the proper forum, which is set down for tomorrow and Tuesday. That's where they should be talking to us and say, this is what we have. And it would mean for us, they are reinstating the same offer that they withdrew from our view, because they shouldn't have chosen to withdraw the offer. They would have chosen to say, let's reopen negotiations until this far.
Right. With taking your perspective into consideration, Mr. Hlungwani, what is this resistance that you are experiencing with the employer as well as government tell you about how workers are treated, the treatment with which workers have to endure?
Look, there are signs of bad treatment in a way at a global level, if we were to think of it. And the consequential effects of that is that currently we have started seeing police stations that are being robbed because there's not enough police officers. And we have seen, I think you know of a police station in Malamlele that was robbed, and recently another police station in Ekurhuleni that was robbed. We see many hospitals running short of nurses and as well as clinics. You go to the teachers, there's shortage of teachers. Now they've withdrawn the teacher assistants. There's many graduates who are unemployed who can still cover the area, but they're not looking at that. So even the shortage of the police and so on, we are saying, if this government was serious, we could sit down and look at how do we address issues that will beneficiate society in general, increase the number of health professionals that we have in the facilities by employing more nurses, doctors, emergency personnel, employ more teachers, employ police, a lot of police officers to serve and mend us. However, over and above that, the conditions of service must be improved, and that should include having a government employee housing scheme, because majority of public servants do not qualify for a bond from the normal banks, and they also do not qualify for, their children don't qualify for NFSAs. Right. We're having it very tough. That's why we want them to come up with a mechanism where we can then beneficiate, and we beneficiate the housing scheme as a whole, or the housing production as a whole, by releasing the savings that we have made, which is now close to 20 billion, that can be plowed back into the economy in order to improve our economic development in the country, because COVID has hit us all in that time.
And I appreciate you speaking to us about this, Mr. Simon Hlungwani. Thank you so much for your time. Mr. Hlungwani, of course, being the Cosatu convener, talking about that mass demonstration and picket expected to take place tomorrow.